sports leader. Check the live stream on YouTube at KNBR 1045.
Some days don't go the way you think they're going to go, right? You think you're going to get a ball game, Giants and the Dodgers, the debut of Matt Chapman in the Giants lineup. I thought I was going to go home. I did. I had my jacket on, had my backpack on. My keys are still around my neck, and then I walk in and say bye to Raph. I hear John Miller go, and they're bringing the top onto the field here as they've tried to bring in the water-breathing dirt. I don't know. John can make anything sound fantastic. Bottom line is Giants game canceled. Canceled, not delayed. Not going to play it again later, not postponed. It's over. It's done. And it was pretty funny, too, if you check out MLB.com or their game day page or ESPN's page. I was just looking at it, and finally it said it went final. After 3 innings, or in the third inning here, top of the third, Giants and the Dodgers go final after Kyle Harrison goes 2 2/3 innings, strikes out 6. He issued 2 walks, and this is how you know the rain was coming down hard in Scottsdale. The 2 walks he issued were on the last 2 batters he faced, and he threw 8 consecutive balls. Before that, 6 strikeouts to just the 2 hits and no walks before those final 2 batters that he faced. Adam Copeland with you here on Sports Phone KNBR. 808-KNBR 415-808-5627 is the number to call and to text. We'll be hanging out with you here on KNBR until the conclusion of the Warrior game, where you're going to get John Dickinson and our guy Greg Silver with a little Dubs OT tonight. Of course, streaming on twitch.tv/thesportsleader, YouTube, KNBR.com, the KNBR app, all that good stuff. We can go anywhere, guys. It's an unplanned show here. We were talking like rain delay, thinking rain delay. We'll get you a little bit of stuff that's gone on KNBR, specifically on Tolbert and Copes. Shameless plug. A little bit later, we had Brandon Crawford on. Still weird to say, by the way, the former San Francisco Giant shortstop, Brandon Crawford. Tom and I were saying that to him yesterday. We're like, man, it's almost too soon. It doesn't feel like we should be saying that right now. He's a guy I anticipated would retire a Giant. Not the case. I do wish him well, of course. You want to see him do well and play well and find success. And you know that he'll come back. I don't know that he'll do the one-day contract type thing. I don't know that that's still a big thing that teams do. But the fact that Brandon Crawford was here for so long and now is still going to play and help the young guys out in St. Louis. We had an opportunity to talk to him yesterday. We will play that interview for you. Alex Pavlovic of the NBC Sports Bay Area, he joined Tom and I earlier today, and we had a pretty wide-ranging discussion on the Giants. We were able to cover basically everything from not just the starting lineup, where we'll get to in a minute, the bullpen, the rotation, who we could be looking at as maybe a dark horse. Mason Black, a guy he pointed out as somebody who we could see potentially as the 5th starter for the Giants this year. We'll see if that plays out that way or if that's something that comes to fruition. Bottom line is the lineup today that we thought we were going to see in its entirety, and we did not because of the rain. The game, if you're just joining us here on KNBR, Giants and the Dodgers rained out. It'll say on ESPN it's postponed. It's not. They're not going to make this thing up. Giants and the Dodgers called at 0-0. Dodgers had 2 hits into the top of the third. Giants hadn't batted yet in the third inning, but Kyle Harrison looked sharp until the final 2 batters that he faced, and really nothing to write home about with that, just the rain. He had 6 strikeouts. 5 of them were swinging strikeouts. They used to say that about Jonathan Sanchez a lot when he came up, and that was one of the things that was so intriguing about him. He had control problems, and I think Giants fans were hot and cold on him at times, but then you remember him favorably for not just the no-hitter, but the triple on the final day of the season in 2010 at a great start there. He debuted in 2007, right around the time Tim Lincecum had. Actually, fun fact, Tim Lincecum, Jonathan Sanchez, first big league hits came on the same day, same game. I only know because I was there. It was weird. It was a June game, and like 3 guys in the Giants lineup got their first big league hit. I want to say it was like Lincecum. It's weird. It was 2 pitchers. It was Lincecum, Jonathan Sanchez, and some weird backup catcher. It was like Guillermo Rodriguez or Guillermo Quiros. It was one of the two. One of the 2 guys got his first big league knock in that game. Bottom line, live arm, a lot of potential. That's the thing they said all the time about Sanchez. Live arm, a lot of potential. And it's funny to think about him in the arm slot that Kyle Harrison throws out of, and not terrible comparisons, I don't think. Sanchez might have been a little bit lower. Harrison, they compare a lot more, I think, to Chris Sale, but he's not quite as herky-jerky. I'm talking more about the arm slot. Anyway, he looked sounded very, very sharp today against some really good Dodger hitters up at the top of the lineup. For the Giants today, though, we asked this question earlier on Tolbert and Copes. Jung-Hoo Lee, Wilmer Flores, Michael Conforto, Jorge Soler, Matt Chapman, Yastrzemski, Tyro Estrada, Patrick Bailey, and Nick Ahmed. That was your starting lineup today for the Giants. If that's the lineup on opening day, that's a team that can win some ball games. And I know that people are going to say this isn't a good team. This is a team that just looks better than last year. Relative to last year, of course, it's a better lineup. I look at this lineup and I go, that's a major league lineup. The Arizona Diamondbacks, and I've said this many times, and again, this is not the baseline. The baseline is not just try to be the last team in the playoffs. The baseline is make the playoffs. That's always the goal. That's got to be the deal, right? It's always the goal. So, again, you look at this lineup that's got a plus defensive center fielder. Defense travels. So far, Jung-Hoo Lee is, again, it's spring training. Who knows what it means? But he's so far putting bat on ball. Exit velocity has been better than it was when he was in Korea in his final season, and he gotten hurt. They said that was maybe a concern. Wilmer Flores is steady as she goes. I would say he's like The Departed. Or like DiCaprio in The Departed. He's talking to the therapist, and she's talking about himself. He goes, you know what I know about myself? Doesn't matter what happens. Doesn't matter the situation. My hand doesn't move. That's Wilmer Flores. It's like the water, like ice in his veins. That's not a guy that I would love to face in a clutch situation because he doesn't seem like the moment is ever too tense for him. Michael Conforto, we'll see what happens with him this year. And a guy who has had some injury problems, right? Luis Matos has had a nice start to the spring. He's cooled off a bit. His OPS still looks good. 3 homers, I believe, leads the Giants to this point in the Cactus League. But he's a guy who I think needs to play every day. I don't know that you can put Luis Matos on the roster if the plan immediately is not to have him as part of some platoon or rotation where he's constantly going to get some at-bats. Because I think we've seen him add some weight, and a lot of the writers have talked about this. It's noticeable when he comes up to bat. And again, this happens with a lot of young players. I interviewed Patrick Bailey. I got to see him up at the Giants Fan Fest event in Napa a few weeks back. It's actually about a month ago now, and he certainly looks bulkier, and he talked about that. You're going to lose a lot of weight as a catcher, and so you want to put some on and bulk up. But if you've got Matos waiting in the wings, or he's a guy that could play opposite Conforto, not a bad idea, especially for a guy who at times in his career has been injury-prone in Michael Conforto. Jorge Soler in there at DH. It's got to be the best DH Giants have ever had. Right? You got to feel good about that. Matt Chapman was in there today at third base, hitting 5th. Feel good about him behind Soler. Yastrzemski, another guy with some injury problems, but he's probably in a bit of a platoon with, you could platoon him, and Austin Slater has fared well against lefties. You've got Tyro Estrada at second, who is, I think, going to become a fan favorite if he's not already. Got some pop, can hit you 10 to 15 home runs, plays a good second base, decent speed. Tyro Estrada, a guy I love having in the lineup, and it feels like he plays damn near every day, and he can swipe some bags. Bailey, your defense is elite behind the plate, maybe the best in the National League West. I mean, the Dodgers are going to top a lot of categories statistically and in people's eyes when they talk about who the best teams are. But when it comes to what the Giants did in adding Matt Chapman, there's no doubt in my mind that they became, certainly in the National League, if it matters by league anymore to anyone, I believe they became a top 5 defense, if not a top 3 defense in the National League. Jung-Hoo Lee is going to play a nice center field. I think first base with Flores and Wade are probably, I don't want to call it a wash. I just don't think it's a plus defensive spot, but I don't think you're losing a ton there. Conforto's not a plus left fielder, but I'd rather have him in left out there than in right field. Where Yastrzemski, I still believe, where for a potency for one season, Jose Cruz Jr., without question, played the best right field Oracle Park's ever seen. But over the course of a career, after a few years, Mike Yastrzemski plays it damn well, man. The bounces off the walls. He doesn't have to deal with the bullpen over there on the field anymore, but you got the Karams. He's a plus defender anyway. I love watching Yaz play right field. Randy Wynn played a pretty damn good right field as well. Pat Bailey again behind the plate. Nick Ahmed, if he makes the team, and right now, who knows how it ranks, but Luciano got his first knock. Kruko this morning on the morning show was saying he didn't know if he's a guy who's going to be able to play at the big league level or if he's going to be able to hit at the major league level. Nick Ahmed, at the very least, could buy you a little bit of time and maybe see what happens with Luciano or Casey Schmidt, and you're not losing, you're gaining defensively as a Gold Glover. 808 KNBR is the number to call here on Sports Phone. KNBR, Adam Copeland hanging out with you. If you're just joining us, the Giants and the Dodgers canceled. They got into the second inning. Rain came in. Kyle Harrison was sharp. He had 6 strikeouts and had not walked anybody. It allowed 2 hits through 2 2/3. Then the rain comes in. He throws 8 straight balls. Then they're like, maybe we should take a look at this thing. And sure enough, they've called it. I can't remember the last time a game got rained out. Certainly not, with a dome in Arizona. You've got a retractable roof. But we'll be hanging out with you. Sports Phone KNBR, taking your calls here and getting to your texts on the Golden State Lumber and Building Material text line. Should let you know, though, that KNBR Sports Phone is presented by Industrial Metal Supply, online at industrialmetalsupply.com. Metal made easy. Let's go out to the phone lines. Pete is on the peninsula. Pete on the peninsula. We can go anywhere you want, man. Talking Giants. We can go Crawford. We can go, hell, Warriors are getting ready or they're playing tonight, and we'll have Dubs OT. What do you got for me, Pete?
Yeah, hey, you hit the nail on the head with Crawford. I heard you say he's going to be on. I'm going to be listening to that with bated breath. But I can't believe, and like I said, I'm probably a couple weeks late. I was out of town, that he left and they didn't offer him a contract for 1 year. He's a Bay Area kid. He dreamed of playing for the Giants, part of those championships. And I laid this at the feet of Farhan, and I said it to your call screen. I'm going to say it to you. Farhan is not a Giants guy.
Well, Pete, let me ask you this. Let me ask you this, though, Pete, because we're upset at Farhan for I know that a lot of Giants fans have been upset at Farhan. But how if you take away the name of Brandon Crawford and you look just at the numbers he gave you last year, and I understand that he talked about playing a different role, but for what the transition is the Giants are trying to make, is bringing back a 194 hitter what's best just because it makes fans feel good? I'm with you. I'm bummed that he's gone, but I understand the move because it's twofold. You can believe two things. You can believe that maybe wasn't the best thing for this roster, and also it kind of sucks that he's gone and not wearing a Giants uniform anymore.
Well, I look at it this way. One, his experience. He was a Gold Glover. He was an all-star guy. Maybe he lost the step.
He did, and he lost a lot with the bat, right?
He's still got a cannon, but he was hurt last year too, right? I mean, every freaking Giant was hurt. Slater, Yastrzemski, they were all hurt. But I remember what he did in 2021. It was the best year at the plate ever.
And Farhan gave him a 2-year contract. Farhan gave him a 2-year, the richest of his career at that point, annually. So that's what I'm saying. Look, I think we're all just bummed about it, right? I don't want him to not be playing as a Giant. I agree with you totally in that it's frustrating, but I also, if they had gone to Crawford, because people are looking at the Nick Ahmed deal and saying, well, you brought in Ahmed, why wouldn't you bring in Crawford? They gave Ahmed a minor league deal. Part of me thinks it might have been more disrespectful if they had offered him a minor league deal. He went to the Giants and said, I want to keep playing, I want to do X, Y, and Z. They kind of let him do a little goodbye last year, but if they said, look, we can't guarantee you a major league roster spot, man. I understand him being hurt too, but I don't know where else to go from that.
Yeah, I get it. It's going to be painful. Like Bochy,
Yeah, totally, man.
The guy leaves and then goes somewhere else and wins it all. And I'm thinking, man, that fourth trophy would have looked good at third and king, man.
Yeah, but dude, wouldn't it?
Would have looked so.
Hey, but let me ask you this, Pete, before I let you go. You feeling good about? You feeling better about this team with the Chapman ad?
You know what? I got to see him stick. If he can stick like he did last year at the beginning of the season. But again, look, he was hurt too, right?
True. Yeah, he was. He was banged up.
Yeah. He played through the whole season. If he can hit, but I mean, they're backing up everybody. Where's J.D. Davis going to go?
It's a good question.
Okay?
It's a good question.
Where you're going to do? Are we doing that platoon thing that drove me crazy?
Oh, hell
you know
no.
how many almost threw my shoe through the TV last year with this platooning. Platoon if a guy is 2 for 3 with a home run the next day. I'm like, baseball's about streaks. When guys are seeing that ball come in like a beach ball, you pencil them in the lineup.
And you're absolutely right, Pete. That's what Boch used to do. Remember, he had the home run rule. Somebody hit a home run, you're in there the next day. That can breed a little bit of confidence, right? That grows that.
I think that's what drove Boch out of here. I think he was tired of being second guessed. He went somewhere else where he could coach. First year, got a ring, got the trophy. I hope the heck Melvin isn't buying into that stupid Moneyball crap.
Well, to be fair, the 98 and 89 wins in back-to-back seasons didn't help Boch's case, Pete.
Well,
we often conveniently forget those back-to-back seasons. I think it might have just been time for a change for Boch, but I didn't. I'm with you that we all were like bummed to see it end the way it did. But you're right that the Crawford one has a bit of finality to it. I appreciate the call, Pete, because you're right. The Crawford thing feels like the end of an era. 808 KNBR is the number to call. Sports phone KNBR. Adam Copeland with you here on the Sports Leader, hanging out with you after the Giants and the Dodgers rained out. They started the game, got into the third inning. Kyle Harrison threw a couple of shutout innings and had 6 strikeouts, 5 of them swinging before the rain. I'm gonna put the walks on the rain. All right, putting the walks on the rain. Pete had a good question, though, about J.D. Davis, and we can get into that, too, at 808 KNBR. Glenn is in Visalia. Glenn in Visalia, you're on the Sports Leader. What's going on?
Hey, Adam, first of all, you have an outstanding staff. The board ops, your talk show hosts, they treat me with high respect. So I want to tell you personally that you have a great staff.
We got a great team of guys here. Honestly, since I've worked here in the 8 years I've been here, or 7.5 years I've been here, it's maybe like top to bottom the best group of people who have worked at KNBR. It's a really good group of people.
Yes. Now,
except for Ralph.
Are you favor us signing Blake Snell?
Yeah, like I'm in favor of it. I just don't really believe it's going to happen. I think there's no question he makes you better, and I also think that if we're going to look at the strengths of Farhan, Glenn, like I look at if you look at any positives, I know it's hard for some people to do it. They get very upset that he let Kevin Gossman walk, who, by the way, is having shoulder problems now. Something Kevin Franzen told me years ago, you can have a lot of problems. You throw that many split-finger fastballs. And so maybe long-term that contract wouldn't have looked good. Rodon, people very unhappy. I thought they should have traded Rodon more than anything. But the issue with Rodon was his health. And he's had one healthy season and pretty healthy one with the Giants. And now his velocity's down. He had problems with the Yankees and the organization and the coaching staff last year. Something I do think Farhan has been able to do is evaluate, at least for the short term, talented pitching or get it at a bargain price. And I know people don't like the bargain hunt, but if you're going to bargain hunt in baseball, pitching is not a bad place to find that value, to find guys who can get you outs and get you through the season. So I think it's very important. I think it's crucial for a team that's going to find sustained success, especially when you're finding it in your minor league systems. It's imperative to know what you have in stock. When Farhan got here, and this is what people forget, he had to take inventory of what prospects were good and what weren't. Remember we had, who's the guy they traded, who's the guy who threw really, really hard? They traded to Milwaukee for Mauricio Dubon. He made a whole bunch of deals, right? He had Pomeranz here, and he flipped him. Like, he was more trying to get pieces here that he could work with. Dude, I can't even remember some of these prospects over here. Christian Arroyo, they ended up moving on from, but it ended up that he wasn't going to be an elite talent. It's not that it's not, in my opinion, that Blake Snell doesn't make them better or that he's not of value to go get him, because I think that when you try to go against a team like the Dodgers, you have to play to your strengths. You got to buy into pitching. You got to buy into defense. The Giants already have that, and I think they have a pretty solid rotation if and when healthy. You go into a playoff series with Webb and Cobb and Robbie Ray, and we'll see what Harrison is. That's 4 right there. Tell me one team that's got 5 great guys. Like, again, Todd Wellemeyer was the 5th starter on the 2010 Giants on opening day, right? We didn't know what was coming. You don't know what's going to come in a baseball season, or if Mason Black ends up being a stud, or if Wisenhut ends up making it to the bigs this year in a quick way, the way Lincecum or Madison Bumgarner did. It's unexpected. So while I do think the Giants are going to take inventory of what they have, and the loss of a guy like Tristan Beck to me is far more detrimental, I think he was going to be a good 5, would have been a solid 5. I just can't see them going and spending $30 million on the trade market or on the free agent market, and I don't know that J.D. Davis, Glenn, would net you enough in pitching. I think you're probably going to hold on to J.D. Davis, and I could see Joey Bart getting moved because he's out of options, but I rambled there, Glenn, but where are you on Blake Snell?
I like Jake Snell, but sometime this year, is Farhan going to come back to KNBR?
Farhan will be back with us at the start of the season. Yeah, he'll be on with Tom and I every other week at the start of the season. We got to run, Glenn. I do appreciate the call, man. Call anytime. Let's get one more in here before we take a quick break. Adam Copeland with you here on Sports Phone. KNBR, Giants rained out against the Dodgers just a little bit ago. They got into the 3rd inning and then rained out. That was it. And so we're hanging until the conclusion of the Warriors game, and you'll get a little Dubs OT where, by the way, our guy John Dickinson, JD, super reporter, boots on the ground. You bet he is. He's out at Chase Center, and he will be at Harmonic Brewing after. Make sure you stop by Harmonic Brewing whenever you're out at Warrior games immediately following the game. JD will be out there, and our guy Greg Silver will be here on the 1s and 2s giving his opinions if you want to hear him from a Greg Silver. Let's go to Troy. Troy is right here in San Francisco. Wants to talk some Giants. What's up, Troy?
Hey, Coach. How you doing, man?
Chilling, bro. How are you?
Good. It's your good buddy. We ran into each other in Scottsdale. I gave you the Bourbon and Bones
Bro!
recommendation, and then
Troy's my guy,
ran
dude.
into you at FanFest.
Troy's my guy. I ran into Troy at a Niner game. I've run into him at Arizona at the Niners and Cardinals game. Ran into him at FanFest. Wherever I go, Troy goes, and Troy's got good drink and food recommendations.
I'm hoping we can get a couple victory beers after a couple Giants games this year.
Troy, I'd like to complete a game. You know what I mean? I'd like us to get through the 3rd. Can we get through the 3rd?
Well, I'm looking at our schedule. It's pretty tough in the first half. We got the Phillies, we got the Yankees, we got Texas and Houston in the first half. So I think it's essential we start out hot. And once we get Robbie Ray back, I think, we got a really good shot to hang with the Dodgers and at least make the wild card. And you never know, if we get into the postseason and we got this rotation going, we add an arm at the deadline. I like our chances.
I'm with you, man. And again, the Robbie Ray thing is going to be a little bit closer to the middle of the season, but that's a frontline starter. I mean, that's a guy who won a Cy Young. Now, you add Blake Snell, it gives you a bunch there, but don't forget, Logan Webb was second in Cy Young voting last year, right? He had over 200 innings. The Giants missed the playoffs by 5 games behind a team that won the pennant in the D-backs at 84 and the Marlins, who had 84 wins, and they did it with 2 starting pitchers who threw over 100 innings. What's your confidence this year in the pitching, Troy?
I have faith. I think Kyle Harrison could be the guy, especially after what you said he did today as a number 2.
Yep.
I think staying healthy is obviously key for us, given what's happened in the spring. But I'm gonna have confidence, and I'll roll with the Giants all day and the fans in the Bay Area. Let's get some fans back into the stadium.
Hell yeah, let's do it.
I'm tired of having an empty stadium the last few years, and if we can start out hot, I think we'll get rolling. So thanks for having me on. Cheers, and hope to see you out at the yard.
I'll see you soon, Troy. We'll see you in a couple of weeks, man. Giants baseball, by the way, like regular season, opening day, 3 weeks from today. Appreciate the call, Troy. We're going to take a quick break. Roy and San Leandro, I see you hanging on the line there. You can give us a call, 415-808-KNBR, 808-5627 is the number to call. It's also the number to text. You can check us out streaming, twitch.tv/thesportsleader, KNBR.com, the KNBR app, all that good stuff. Everywhere you get your stuff, that's where we are. Where all your stuff is. Adam Copeland with you here. It's Sports Phone KNBR. If you're just joining us, the Giants and the Dodgers rained out. Just rained out. Started pouring rain in Scottsdale, at Scottsdale Stadium. First time I've ever heard of anything like that. Like, you'll see some rain come over and spit. But, dude, it dumps so hard, like, it's going to be like an hour and a half. Let's call this thing. Let's forget it. Kyle Harrison looks sharp. Something to be excited about, I think, with him. For those who are concerned about the pitching, struck out 6 Dodgers before he issued 2 walks on 8 straight pitches because it was raining. Had some trouble with the mound and with the control there, but had 5 of those 6 strikeouts by swing and miss. That's something to be happy about. So 808 KNBR, Roy, we will get to your call in just a moment. And Alex Pavlovic joined myself and Tom Tolbert earlier today. Got a whole roster breakdown from Pav. So you're not getting the game, but you'll get some talk about the guys who were going to play in the game. I swear to God, they were going to do it. They just didn't. Just like I was going to go home, and then the game ended, and I was like, I guess I just do this now. I guess I'm sitting here talking Giants ball. What a bummer. Just kidding. Love the. If I got to not go home, it's to do that. That's the best reason. We'll talk to you guys about it on the other side. We'll get an update from Alex Pavlovic from earlier today on what this Giants lineup looks like, and could this be the opening day lineup we saw tonight for 2 2/3 innings? Only here on the Sports Leader.
0-2 pitch. Swing and a miss. Struck him out 95 up above the zone. Harrison, who loves elevating that fastball. And he picks up his 4th consecutive strikeout. They've all been swinging strikeouts. And this is just electric stuff that Kyle Harrison is featuring here against the Dodgers tonight.
The nighttime is the right time for Sports Phone KNBR. Let's go on the sports leader. Streaming live on YouTube at KNBR 1045.
Adam Copeland with you here, Sports Phone KNBR on a Thursday evening. Those of you just joining us, the Giants and the Dodgers were supposed to be in action. We thought the Giants and the Dodgers would be playing ball right now in a Cactus League debut for Matt Chapman. And we only got 2 2/3 innings of play in before the game was called due to rain. Bizarre. Absolutely bizarre. It just started dumping rain, so much so that they were like, it's going to be another hour or so, and they just called the game. 808 KNBR, 415-808-5627 is the number to call. Kyle Harrison had 6 strikeouts in the game. 5 were swinging strikeouts. You heard Joe Rizzo on the call there as the Giants' young lefty could be the number 2. And Alex Pavlovic said earlier today to Tom and I that he thinks he'll be the number 2 guy. You can check in at 808 KNBR on the phone lines here, or you can check it on the Golden State Lumber and Building Material text line. People are also checking in on the YouTube chat here. Question I have for you is the lineup we saw tonight. Is that lineup a lineup that makes you confident? I don't want to say makes you confident. Is it a lineup that you're pleased with walking into opening day? I know it's not the lineup everybody wants. That's not what I'm asking. I'm not saying it's got Shohei Ohtani, and I'm not comping it to the Dodgers. The Dodgers have an insane lineup. Not happy about that. Not thrilled about that. Thrilled about Yamamoto having trouble with the strike zone while Kyle Harrison's just cruising past him. Makes me feel good. But as one of our texters here, Hope Springs Eternal, checks in, says, where are the pitchers, Adam? Pitching wins championships. Agreed. That's why the Dodgers haven't had a championship, because they're having a difficult time finding pitching. The year the Giants and the Dodgers met in 2021, the Dodgers went through basically the entire back half of the season and a lot of the first part of the season with like 3 starters. They burned out. Remember that David Price was pitching bulk innings, did so against the Giants. They had a lot. They were using an opener a lot. They were going Scherzer. They were going, I think Kershaw was hurt at that point. They traded for Danny Duffy, who never threw a pitch. So again, pitching by rule, like spending lots of money on a big-time pitcher, is not generally a good investment. If Farhan lands Blake Snell and it's like a 7-year deal or a 6-year, like we hated I was hyped on Zito and then hated the Zito deal. When you win titles in the window of that contract, sure, it's great. But just don't forget that he was making $26 million while Lincecum was making $500,000. I agree that pitching wins championships, but the best way to acquire pitching is not via free agency. The best way to acquire pitching is to develop it. So if you don't develop it and you just keep trying to buy it like the Dodgers do, they have developed Buehler, they developed Kershaw, who's on the back 9 now, but I don't know where else you go. You've got to develop the pitchers. They're hoping Keaton Winn is a thing. Tristan Beck, I thought, was going to be a thing. He was good last year. Ryan Walker is a guy that they've developed as a bullpen guy. So the notion that like they haven't developed talent or that they're not trending in the right direction, to me, is not fair and not accurate. Because 2021, and I'll say, we had a caller last week, I think, or early this week who said it, and it's the best. I think it's the best terminology for what happened. 2021 set the Giants back, maybe in their plans for development. Again, Bruce Bochy, when he left, had lost 98 and 89 games in consecutive years. It's not like things were going great then. And the prospects that Farhan had to deal with when he got here were not prospects that have done anything anywhere else, really. It's not like we're finding guys all over the place that are doing great, great things. That were like, he screwed up entirely. He drafted Kyle Harrison in a draft where he had to get creative in doing so because they weren't going to get a full draft, right? Sean Jelly, say whatever you want. Patrick Bailey's already here, right? Tyro Estrada was acquired by this regime. By the way, Buster Posey loved Tyro Estrada, I guess, when he saw him play for the Yankees. So, no, one winning season under Farhan doesn't make me happy. I also believe that with the way the playoff structure is set up now, that the Giants aren't as far away from that. They're further away from where the Rockies were last year at 59 wins than they are from 84 wins, which was 5 wins away, and where the Diamondbacks finished last season. By the way, 2 years ago, when they went 81 and 81, and that was a hollow. Go back and look at September of 2022, the 81 and 81 season under Gabe. I think that's what they finished. They had Jarrell Cotton throwing innings. Shelby Miller was on the team. Like Yermin Mercedes was playing. What was that last year too? My point is, this roster appears to be more stable to the sense or the state that it's a bunch of guys who can play a lot of innings, a lot of days, can be out there consistently, I should say, and that give you an opportunity to win. I do think that I think that we're also falling blind to how we really did not like how the team on the field was being run, right? Like, I think that if Bob Melvin were to run last year's roster, are they better at that? I don't know. Are they 5 wins better? Like, did Gabe make for 5 losses? Maybe. Did Bob make up 5? That I don't know. But I bet you we'd enjoy watching baseball more. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just feel like the style of play paired with the roster, it didn't work. So I'm not going to credit Farhan for things that didn't work, but I'll credit him for saying this thing didn't work, and we got to move on from Gabe and get somebody else in here. Maybe it's pairing that style that I've got in acquiring talent with what Bob Melvin's been able to do. But you can't hate him for not landing players and say he's got to go for Crawford and then praise Patrick Bailey and Kyle Harrison and some of the other pieces that have come in. Because I think there are some exciting things. The same as we've cracked jokes about Bobby Evans for years. That's the guy who drafted Camilo Duvall or signed Camilo Duvall, right? Like, there's some people out, it's like there's pieces out there that are parting gifts from GMs that you forget. A guy has to get his system in place, and it was time for an entire rebuild. Bottom line is they have not had a season as bad as the 2 previous since Farhan got here. And that's point blank, right? Until Farhan got here. So let's go to Roy. Roy's been waiting a bit in San Leandro. 808 KNBR is the number to call. What's up, Roy? You're on the Sports Leader.
Hey, Adam. Hey, it's always great to hear from you. How you doing?
I'm doing well, man. How are you, Roy?
Not too bad. Hey, look, what really, I'd have to say the Giants have stationed themselves to be a whole lot better than what they were last year. It's no question about it. And I realize that pitching is the lifeblood of the Giants' whole system. It's no question about it. And, as I speak to you right now, my concern is that, the minor league system in the Giants. Because even though what the Giants will do, they'll go out and they'll sign 3 pitchers, and then they'll get a position player, I guess if that's the lifeblood and that's the way the Giants go about doing things. But what I am saying, though, is that in the process of doing that, you're not going to find maybe a real good power-hitting outfielder or else maybe a slick-fielding infielder or something like that, simply because, you have to know how to go out and get some real good position players. And after this Lincecum and the Panda and all of that group of players, the Giants haven't really, to me, learned to develop outfielders and infielders really that well.
To be fair, Roy, they weren't developing outfielders before that. I mean, with all the different left fielders on opening days, right? And I believe the number or the note is that they haven't developed or drafted an all-star outfielder since Chili Davis, which is an unfair note because Brian Reynolds made the all-star team, just not as a Giant.
Okay.
Right. But you're right. To your point, you're right. You're absolutely right. And so to that point, I mean, it's unfair to, like, with the NFL, it's hard. Like, I don't want to not credit John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan for drafting Bosa, but it felt obvious, right? It's like, that's the guy you take right there. You got to take that guy. Buster Posey was kind of that guy, too, at that position because he was a superstar in college. Same can be said about Joey Bart, but development just happens so differently with these guys. Kyle Harrison, to me, that's an identifiable, like, hey, that wasn't an automatic place to take that guy. They made sure they gave him extra money to sign him in that slot in a weird draft to get him here. So I do think that it's tough to say, well, he's not developing players when how much time do you give a player in the minors? I mean, you get his team control for like 6 years. I think a 4-year window for draft pick to the majors or that development is what I want to see. So far, Farhan has shown that to the level that the Giants were showing it when they won the World Series, right? We're starting to get pieces here that look like everyday players.
Yeah, it's true. And, I just, when we, years ago, though, and I'm not going back in the past, because baseball, just like anything else, is constantly changing. But, we used to seeing maybe a good Robbie Thompson, or also maybe a Jack Clark, somebody like that, who can go out and lead the team. And stuff like that. That's all I'm saying.
I'm with you. I'm with you because Buster was that guy. Crawford was that guy. And you know what? I think in the clubhouse and in the locker room, I think Logan Webb's that guy. But you're right. It's different with a guy who's not on the field every day. I appreciate the call, Roy, as always, man. Let's go to Alex. Alex is in San Jose. Alex, what's going on, man? You're on the Sports Leader.
Not much, man. How's it going?
We're chilling, dude. No Giants. I thought the Giants were playing, but I also thought I was going home. So what's going on? You know?
I thought I had enough time to get some food. I got in the car. The game's over.
Yeah, that's it. 2 2/3. That's it. We called it.
We called it. Nah, man. Hey, I'll rip Farhan like anybody, but at the same time, without Patrick Bailey, we're screwed. And the development of Harrison, you got to give the guy credit for that. Like, Kyle Harrison I think he has the potential to take a Tim Lincecum type of leap in the next couple of years. I just really hope he develops a third pitch. Yeah, I saw him throw a changeup a little bit today, but I know his bread and butter is the slider and the fastball. So I just really hope he develops a third pitch, man, because I think with him and Webb at the top, we got something. Because honestly, the Dodgers rotation, it's going to crumble in October. I know it always does, but glass now is literally made of glass now. And Kershaw's going to blow it. Buehler's coming off Tommy John. He's not going to be good till next year. Yamamoto, I think he's going to be good, but they got a lot of question marks. Their lineup's great, but their pitching sucks. It's like, I'm sorry, I don't understand why everyone's like crowning them World Series champions already.
Well, we had John Morosi on with us the other day from MLB Network, and he was saying to Tom and I the same thing. He said, don't think that the Dodgers rotation is bulletproof. That thing is rebuilt, but Yamamoto struggled big time yesterday. I can't put too much credit into success in spring training, so I don't try to write off. I try not to crap too hard on anything that doesn't look good. That said, it's still a pitcher coming over who has never pitched in the major leagues before, right? For all the Giants fans' questions about Jung-Hoo Lee, the same can be said about a guy like Yamamoto, who's very young, and while he looks like a phenom, we've heard and seen that many times before with guys who come from the professional level overseas. So I'm with you. Glasnow's a guy who gets banged up. They're going to have to get Walker Buehler back healthy. Kershaw has had a tough time staying healthy throughout the season the last couple of years. I'm with you. I'm not rooting for injury per se, but it's got to prove it, I think, that they can get through a season with that crop of guys, because it looked for a minute like they were developed. Man, when I thought Dustin May and Gonsolin were coming, and May has had some problems, but it looked like it was going to be scary for a while. Who knows to this point?
No, that's true. The only thing that scares me to get back to our rotation is Hicks as the number 3. I think that's what he'll be coming out of spring training.
I think we lost Alex there. Alex dropped off. Just on Hicks there. Think about Hicks, and I know that's a big gamble. His contract is pretty similar to that of which one's the lefty? Taylor Rogers. And if you're paying him, I mean, it's an expensive reliever rate, but again, this guy throws like 105 miles an hour. So if he's the problem with him is he's had no experience really as a starter. I want to say his best start of his career came last year against the Giants, which is just kind of funny in and of itself. But he throws really, really hard. He has a tough time finding the strike zone. If he can hone in on that, or if they can find something to fix that a little bit, maybe that's great. Then you sort of say, well, if it doesn't work out as a starter, you can go to the bullpen and just be an expensive bullpen arm. That's all right. You can move that. That's not a big issue. But I don't like walks in the bullpen either. You know what I mean? I like them maybe less in the bullpen than I like them in the starting rotation. 808 KNBR is the number to call. Tim's in Visalia. Tim, in Visalia, you're on the Sports Leader. What's going on?
How's it going, Adam?
Doing well, man. How are you, Tim?
Good. I just wanted to say, the caller a couple of callers ago, or the last caller, was saying he's not taking the Dodgers as being a big threat. I mean, yeah, they're a juggernaut, but they're a juggernaut in the regular season. Roberts has not proven himself in the postseason. So I see if the Giants can get a wild card and they can get another arm, they can go far in the playoffs. They can have a good season.
Well,
with the guys they have on the offense.
I'm with you. I think the offense the offense is definitely deeper than it was last year. It's more proven. And I do think, again, they're going to get a look at some guys. And again, the roster, you guys got to remember, the roster almost never ends up the way, especially for successful teams. The Braves, when they won the World Series a few years ago, remember Acuna, didn't he tear his ACL or something? They had to rebuild. And Alex Anthopoulos, their GM, got 3 different outfielders at the trade deadline. Jorge Soler might have been one of them. He went and got 3 different outfielders at the deadline to plug in. They won the World Series. Like Cody Ross, one of the great World Series heroes for the Giants, wasn't opening day left fielder. Hell, John Bowker was the opening day right fielder in 2010, right? Some of the moves you make are for down the road. Some of them are plug-and-play pieces, and some of them have to be we don't know what the effect of this coaching staff and what Bob Melvin are going to be on this team, what's going to feel different and look different, how he manages a staff. We might have a bit of an idea, but that's something that's going to come with watching the game and these guys getting used to playing under him. What we do know is that the culture in the clubhouse was not great last year. We know that a lot of young guys came up, and there was a lot of recycling through that clubhouse and trying to throw darts and see what was going to fit, because they did have some success early on. This, to me, is a far more stable lineup, and I'm with you that if they can figure it out pitching-wise, or if they can weather the storm enough till Robbie Ray gets here partway through the season, you get into a postseason series with, again, I'll say it, Robbie Ray, Alex Cobb, and Logan Webb, and then see what Kyle Harrison is. I'll take my chances. Hell, you're a playoff team. You're doing pretty well for yourself, but that's a tough four to stop.
One thing and I'll hang up. Bob Melvin is a proven winning manager. He's proved that he can win in Oakland with a team that I don't want to say mediocre, but he took them probably farther than they should have gone. He is a good manager.
No question.
I don't know what happened in San Diego.
Yeah, that was maybe something else. That was with the GM. I think they had an issue. I will say this about Bob Melvin. This is just not him personally, but this is a sort of a funny thing about those A's teams. Are they the only team? Did they lose 3 wild card games or just 2? I think they lost 3, and I think he was manager for it might have been all 3 of them. It was definitely 2 of them.
Yeah, I think it was.
There was the Royals one. There was the Rays one. I was there, and then there was the one at Yankee Stadium. Remember when they went the opener? Yankee Stadium's a tough deal.
Was he there when they lost to the Tigers in 2006?
No, that was Ken Maka, wasn't it?
Okay.
I think it was Ken Maka in 2006. I appreciate the call, Tim and Visalia. Thanks so much, man. Let's get to Connor in Walnut Creek real quick. No, it was not Art Howe. Raph. It was not Art Howe in 2006. I think it went Howe to Maka, right? It went Howe, Maka, Guerin, and then maybe to Bob Melvin. Connor is in Walnut Creek. You're on the Sports Leader.
Thanks for taking my call. I love hearing all this Kyle Harrison hype. I'm a fellow Spartan, played baseball for De La Salle.
Good deal, man.
I think he's the real deal.
Shout out Bear Harrison, too, up at St. Mary's, man. His brother's killing it behind the plate.
I played for St. Mary's, too.
Hell yeah.
I played for St. Mary's, too. Big St. Mary's guy. But I want to start with saying I understand the Giants have spent the second most money in free agency, second to the Dodgers. And I love it, but I'm going to have to ask for a little bit more. And what I want them to do is I want to sign both Blake Snell and Jordan Montgomery to 1-year deals. Pay them off, get them to be a Giant. Who would be better to mentor Kyle Harrison than 2 great lefties like Blake Snell and Jordan Montgomery? But my goal for this year is not a World Series champion. It is building this great Giants resume to sign Juan Soto next year when he is a free agent. If we can prove to Juan Soto that we are ready to win a championship, we could sign him. I think he would be great in the Giants uniform.
And if he doesn't come here, it'll be fun booing him for like a decade when he's wearing blue and white, right?
Yep. He is on my fantasy team, but I will boo him.
Good deal, Connor. Appreciate the call, man. Thanks so much. I mean, that's a good case to make in that you want to be an attractive place. You talk about landing free agents, guys who say they want to win. You got to give them an opportunity to win. So, for example, Shohei Ohtani gets the same offer from the Giants and the Dodgers, and he makes the decision, I don't think I'm going to do that. I don't want to do that. I'm not going to go there. He got it from the Blue Jays, I think, too. He said no more offers. They all gave basically the same thing, and he got to make his decision. But if he's looking at where am I going to win more often, that's the team that's won the division for, 12 of 13 years or 11 to 12, whatever the hell those idiots down there lose after they do go and win the division. Bottom line, I don't like the Dodgers. Bottom line, he makes a good point. He makes a good case. Now, Jordan Montgomery, we were told by Susan Slusser, unlikely to come here. He wants to go to the East Coast. Boston is the place most tied to him. I got to tell you, Montgomery's not a guy who blows me away. He's not a guy that makes me think, yeah, hell yeah. It's better than the unproven or the unknown. But he doesn't, I don't look at that and go, that's the move. That's a guy you pick up at the deadline. To me, that's this may be unfair, but I just, in my mind, he's a midseason pickup of the ilk of Mike Leake. You know what I mean? It's not a bad move, but I don't want to go, and I hear him on the 1-year deal. Montgomery, though, per Susan Slusser, wants to go East Coast. His wife has a medical residency or something, or she's in med school in Boston, so he wants to go back east. And in terms of Snell, again, I don't know. It doesn't seem like, I don't know. I don't know if our heads are going to explode if he signs with LA, by the way. We're going to completely lose it, and they're already dealing with some stuff. So we'll see what happens. Teams are going to get desperate, and who knows what happens on the trade market. Former Giant shortstop Brandon Crawford joined Tom and myself yesterday from Jupiter, Florida, actually, where the spring training facility of the Cardinals is. We'll play that for you in just a little bit. But for those just joining us now, I should update you. The Giants and the Dodgers were scheduled to play tonight. They started the game. We got the debut of Matt Chapman. We're all hyped. He's out there in the black and orange. Kyle Harrison started, struck out 6 Dodgers. 5 of them were swings and misses on strike 3. and then rain started dumping in the top of the third inning, and they called it. Game's canceled. So is my Thursday evening. I'm with you, hanging out here on Sports Phone KNBR. 808 KNBR is the number to call. We're talking some Giants ball. We'll play the Alex Pavlovic hit for you next. Alex Pavlovic joined Tom and myself. A wide-ranging talk on Jung-Hoo Lee, the Giants roster, the bullpen, and what this rotation could and will look like. That's next, only here on the Sports Leader.
Giants-Cubs baseball rained out today at Wrigley Field due to rain.
Your reaction, so give us a ring or blow up the text line at 415-808-KNBR. This is Sports Phone KNBR, streaming live at twitch.tv/The Sports Leader.
Adam Copeland back with you, Sports Phone KNBR on a Thursday evening. Those of you expecting the Giants and the Dodgers, you're not getting it. Those of you not expecting me, you are. Giants and the Dodgers rained out in Scottsdale, Arizona. They got into the third inning. Kyle Harrison, 2 2/3 innings pitched, struck out 6. So he recorded 8 outs, 6 by way of strikeout. He had not issued a walk until the final 2 batters he faced, 8 consecutive balls thrown, but it was dumping rain. That's when they called time, asked him to take a look, and crew chief Bill Miller said, "That's that. We're going to call this game." It's funny, John Miller and Joe Rizzo were talking about what he was trying to signal to the broadcast booth or to them. He goes, "It looks like they're looking at me," and crew chief Bill Miller is waving. Joe, do you know the hand signals that he's using? It's pretty funny. By the way, John Miller, like, we get rain delays in the season. John Miller, he's like built for rain delay. He'll tell you, no joke, John Miller will run through like the wattage of the bolt. They've turned on the lights here at Great American Ballpark, and Cincinnati, where, of course, they used to open the season every year. And, of course, the old Cincinnati Red Stockings would be the first game played. That was back in the old National League President Day. I don't know if he's rambling about whatever. Back in the old Baltimore. John Miller's fine. I swear to God, my absolute favorite, John Miller. Love that guy, dude. Absolutely love him. But the Giants rained out today against the Dodgers, and they will not make it up. So for those of you looking for the Giants game, you won't get it. We'll continue with some Giants talk here. By the way, at the conclusion of the Warriors game, you'll get a little Dubs OT right here on The Sports Leader with our guy John Dickinson and Greg Silver. By the way, everybody or anybody who goes out to Warrior home games, if you're at a Warrior home game and you're leaving said Warrior home game when the game's over, pass by Harmonic Brewing. Our guy John Dickinson's just hanging there talking Warrior ball. Every Warrior home game, you get Dubs OT live here at the conclusion of the game. So if you're leaving the game, get in the car and hear it. You can throw it up on YouTube, Twitch, all that good stuff where we stream everything. But then if you're there at the game, like I was last night, roll by, say what's up to JD. He is live from Harmonic Brewing at the conclusion of every Warriors home game. 209 on the Golden State Lumber and Building Materials text line. Checks in and says, hey, Copes, what do you think of the new Survivor season? Premiered last night. Haven't seen it. Have not watched yet. Was my plan for tonight, but now this is. Well, yeah, God had other plans. The weather had other plans. 707 says, Raf, rained out due to rain. Yeah, LMFAO, pretty good there. One of my favorites is Marty and Rain Delay. If you had a glove, what would you name? Tell me about your first mitt. One of my favorites. What did you name your first glove? Let's get out to, we had a conversation, Tom and I did earlier today with Alex Pavlovic, NBC Sports Bay Area Giants insider, is out in Scottsdale, Arizona, was getting ready for the game. We had a nice, big conversation on the entire Giants roster. Will they trade J.D. Davis? Will they trade Joey Bart? And if so, what kind of value are they going to get for Joey Bart? He's out of options. I imagine they're going to have to make a move on something like that. We got into the rotation, who he thinks could be a pick for the rotation at the back end, who's maybe a surprise player we could see. What are they going to do with this roster crunch? Matos in the outfield, he's got to play. And then the bullpen. Is there anybody we should be paying attention to? Alex Pavlovic joined Tom and myself earlier today from Scottsdale Stadium in Scottsdale, Arizona. Started off simply by asking Alex, how you doing, bro?
I'm cold. I'm surprisingly cold for being in Scottsdale. So good luck to Matt Chapman and all the guys playing tonight.
Well, Matt Chapman's used to it, having played here in the Bay Area already with the A's for many years. So it definitely feels like, at least to Giants fans and what we've heard from and what we've read on social media and what people have texted into us, that there's a different vibe around the team. How much changed you feel like with Matt Chapman showing up?
Yeah, I think even before he got here, I mean, you could just kind of feel it early in camp. It's definitely different just because year after year, I mean, Buster's gone, Belt's gone, Crawford's gone. So it was going to be a different vibe anyway. But Jung Koo Lee, I think, has brought a lot of energy. And then just the clubhouse is just full of young guys who are trying to break through. And not just position players, but there's like 10 or 12 young pitchers in there who are trying to, be part of the mix this year. And then Solera arrives pretty early in camp. Pablo is here. So I think the vibe has been different basically since the start. And then you throw in somebody like Matt Chapman, who's obviously very established in this game. And I think it's a pretty excited group right now.
Is there a pitcher that maybe we don't know about that his stuff is just a little bit different than everybody else's?
Yeah, we're going to see a guy tonight for the first time, Landon Root, who, Bob Melvin said this afternoon he has a chance just to be special. Like, they think he can be really good. He had like a 1.7 ERA in Double-A last year, so he's had some injuries. I'm excited to see him. And then there's a decent chance Mason Black is the number 5 starter, and he's somebody that we haven't seen really. He was in Triple-A at the end of last year, but he has a chance to break through. So those are the two, and beyond that, I mean, there's a lot of guys, Wisenhunt, Birdsong, guys like that, but I think those are the two that early on, and especially Black, I think really has a chance to break with this team. So I'm excited to see him tomorrow.
Alex Pavlovic, the voice you hear, are you, like if you were to rank the depth chart right now or the battle for shortstop for opening day, where does it stand? Is Nick Ahmed up at the top?
There was an off day yesterday, and today I think you can see in the lineup, like pretty close to a regular season lineup. So it does certainly stand out that Nick is the shortstop tonight. And look, he hit the ground running here, and Marco Luciano had the injury, and he has struggled at the plate since he came back. And I think it's a new staff, it's a new coaching staff, and they've talked a lot about defense and supporting the pitchers. And what Matt Chapman can do, and we've seen what Nick Ahmed can do. So If you ask me right now who's going to be the opening day shortstop, I would say it's going to be Nick. Now, there's a lot that can change, but I think he's basically done everything he needed to in the first week or two here that has been here to go out and win that job.
I'm a big believer in you got to earn playing time. You got to earn at-bats, earn all those things. So if Ahmed is better than Luciano, then, look, he's the one that should play. The only thing I wonder about, Alex, and curious to get your thoughts on this, is do they have the upside with him at shortstop that they might have with Luciano if Luciano does become what they hoped he'd become?
No, I mean, the best case for this franchise is Marco becoming a shortstop for the next 3, 4, 5 years, however long, until he fully outgrows the position. But again, like to your point, you have to go out and earn it. And you can say what you want about the exit velocities last year. Like there's a lot when you look under the hood where you go, he actually made pretty good contact when he was up last year, but he didn't play a whole lot in the minor leagues. He's had some injuries down there. He's had some slow starts there, and they called him up last year, and I think he played 14 games in the big leagues last year. So it's one thing to say, like, at the beginning of October, which Farhan did, we want to give this guy a chance. But, you hire a new staff, you hire a new manager, there's new infield coaches here, and they look around and kind of go, like, what's the best way to support Logan Webb on opening day? And that's going to be the discussion.
Talking to Alex Pavlovic here on the UMA guest line. I'm wondering, where are they in the bullpen? Because they lost some pieces. John Brebbia gone. He's a veteran. Luke Jackson, a guy we've seen a little bit of. I know they've got a couple of vets. Amir Garrett's come in. And there's some other names. But Sean Jelly got hurt the other day. What are we looking at in terms of how they get? I'm sure there's some set pieces there. But Jordan Hicks, are we set on the starter at the beginning of the year? Does he end up in the pen? Where does that all stand?
Yeah, they need him to start for now, just out of lack of other options. I think by the second half it might be a little bit different with Cobb and Ray back, and maybe they'll, especially if you start to get down to the stretch, and if they do make the postseason, like you throw Hicks back there with Doval, it's pretty intriguing. But I think they're actually going to be fine in the bullpen. And a lot of those young guys, I think, can fill innings, and then they do have Camilo, they have the Rogers twins, Ryan Walker, you mentioned Jackson. Like they have enough guys down there who can start the year and they can feel comfortable if they have a lead in the sixth inning. And then some of these guys are hoping break through. Some of the younger guys are going to end up in the bullpen. And part of that is just like a lot of these guys are not capable this year of throwing 140, 160 innings. So some of them are going to have to be in the bullpen.
Please tell me Ryan Walker is not going to start 35 games this year.
He will not start 35, but, I do think when you start looking at, obviously they're short on starting options. Like, it wouldn't shock me if early in the year we see him go back to that a little bit, but it's going to be like maybe one time through or once every couple of weeks.
Not back-to-back games?
It might have been back-to-back-to-back.
You're right. It might have been.
At one point, Alex, he started tedious. 5 of 10. He started 5 of 10 games at one point. We were like, "You kidding me? Like, that's 2 times through."
I mean, Brebbia did the same. So.
Yeah.
Oh, that was something. So is it going to look? It'll look different from that standpoint, I'm sure. Will it also look different because maybe they have some better players? Like Lee's going to play against lefties. Chapman's going to play against righties. They have more guys that are going to face, lefty on lefty, righty on righty. Will we see less of that where guys are getting taken out in the 5th and 6th inning for matchups?
Yeah. I would even go to like the 3rd inning sometimes. I think we saw I think we're going to see a lot less of that. There are still going to be like Wade and Flores make a lot of sense in the platoon at first.
Sure.
And we'll still see like Slater and Yaz. But they want Lee to play every day. They want him to hit leadoff every single day. They want Soler to play every day. Chapman, we know, answers the bell every single day. So there's going to be more guys this year who do that. And I do think like part of it, to your point, it wasn't just platooning game by game, it was platooning in game. Yeah. And I think Melvin is going to be a little bit more willing to if a right-hander comes in, Wilmer, you can stay in the game. You don't have to come out in the 5th inning. So I think we're going to see more normalcy in that regard.
Wilmer's going to have to build his stamina back up. Play 9.
Yeah.
It's like, damn, dude, I'm in here again against a righty, and I'm playing in the 7th. What's going on? What about, so you mentioned Jung-Hoo Lee. So, I'm really, really excited about this guy. I was when they signed him, and now it looks like he is having a great spring. He's hitting .462. He's got 6 hits in 13 at-bats. He had a nice home run. The exit velocity was good. After there was talk of his his average exit velo not being great in his final year in Korea. What do you think about him? What have you seen from him? Is he as advertised? Is he great contact? What do the at-bats look like? I'm excited to see him in person.
Yeah, he's as advertised. I mean, I really think this guy, if he does what they think he can do at the plate, like, I think he's pretty quickly going to be a star in the Bay Area. I mean, there's just a kind of star quality to him. He carries himself like he's the superstar out there, and certainly he has been his whole life just overseas. So I think he has that going for him. And, you know, you guys remember his press conference. He's just an extremely likable guy.
Yeah.
So I think he has all that. And then it's just the bat-to-ball skills. Like, it should translate. They're going to give him every opportunity. So the one thing we don't know is, like, playing center field at Oracle Park, how that will be on a nightly basis. But everything else I've seen from him is as advertised, and I think, you know, his teammates just absolutely love the guy. So they're pretty thrilled so far with that investment.
Are there any guys, or who's the most likely guy, I should say, outside of Luciano, that we saw last year? Because we saw a bunch of them last year. It was like every other game. I was like, dude, another new guy? I was like, geez, you're emptying out the mic system. This year, I was like asking for it for years and years. Like, whoa, let me catch up here. I'm just getting used to this guy. Yeah. You're bringing up a new guy. Who are the guys who you think are most likely to have, you know, an impact on the season that maybe we saw the last 2 months last year?
Well, an easy one is Kyle Harrison, who we'll see tonight.
Sure.
I just think he's poised for a huge year. And, you know, likely going to get the ball the second game of the year. So they have really high hopes for him, and he's worked really hard in the offseason to put himself in that position. But the guy, I think we're going to see a lot of his Tyler Fitzgerald. And you look at the roster and the way it shapes up, and, you know, some of these guys are not like Soler, Flores. They're not the speediest guys out there. And if they keep J.D. Davis, like the bench really does not have a whole lot of versatility. So they're going to need someone who can move around, and they're going to need someone who can run. And I think he fits that perfectly.
Got it.
Alex Pavlovic, the voice you hear, a few more minutes here on the Uber guest line. What about Luis Matos? Where does he fit in? I know he had a hot start to the spring. How's he been hitting of late? And is there a spot for him on the roster? I feel like he's a guy you want to play every day.
Yeah, you know, he's an interesting spot because I think you could pretty easily make the case to throw him ahead of one of the veterans and just say go out there and do what you've done in spring. And he put on about 14 pounds in the offseason, which he needed to do. And you can just see it. You can see it during batting practice. You can see it. And it's not like he's young enough that it's good weight. Like it's all necessary weight that he just had to put on. So, you know, it's tough for him just roster-wise with how many veterans there are and the guys that they've added. And, you know, if somebody like Fitzgerald, who can also play short and third, ends up getting that spot, it just makes it really tough for him to make the team initially. But I think we're going to see a lot of them this year because we know guys in the corners are going to get hurt. And he can also play center, so if they need help there. Again, like that's the guy I would put pretty high on the list of people to get excited about. He's 22 years old, and we saw what he did last year in AAA. And it's tough when you make that adjustment to the big leagues, but he's kind of done everything they've asked 2 years in a row to become a better baseball player, and I think they're pretty anxious to get him out there.
Did Bailey talk about maybe what he did or didn't do during the offseason to help get him ready for 162? Now, he's not going to catch 162, but I remember last year he said that mentally and physically he was kind of wearing out toward the end of the season, that it was a lot. And I'm wondering, did he talk about doing anything during the offseason to kind of get himself ready for that?
Yeah, he came in, you know, he's on the list of guys who came in kind of bulked up, and I think he put on close to 20 pounds.
Wow.
He lost, I think, 16 or 17 during the year last year, so it's tough. I mean, it was the longest year of his life. I asked him, like, what can you lose during a game? And he's like, some of those games you lose 6 pounds. And it's hard to, as a catcher, and it's hard to put it back on. Yeah. So he's bulked up a little bit, and I think he just has a better idea. He was pretty open late in the year about just how worn down he was, and you can see the numbers in September. You can see the at-bats. Like, he was just tired. That was not expected of him last year. So I think he's in a much better spot. And then the other thing that helps is, like, Tom Murphy's a pretty good backup. So they have a guy they can throw out there and give Patrick, you know, some real time off this year and feel comfortable about it.
It's like
this would be a new diet for everybody out there. Hey, just put on the gear, get a squat for a couple hours, watch the game, and drop some weight. Fantastic.
Just go to St. Louis and catch 9 innings. You're skinny.
I was going the other way. I was going to say it's a new Ozempic slogan. Ozempic, at least you're not in the squat. You know what I mean? You just go with that one. It's Holbert and Copes, joined here by Alex Pavlovic. I wanted to ask you about what's the timeline, just real quick, on Robbie Ray and Alex Cobb. When are they expected back?
Yeah, Ray's still probably second half. I think, sometime right around the All-Star break. Cobb's interesting because he has not wanted to give a timeline at all, and he's a really smart guy. And we gave him our Good Guy Award last year because he's a great talker, and he's like, I know what happens when I give you guys a timeline. You start circling it, and if I miss it by a few days, then there's a setback.
Yeah,
so,
of course.
But you can kind of read the tea leaves here. They have not put him on the 60-day, and just from talking to people who have played catch with him, people who have been around his bullpen sessions, he apparently looks great. So I think he's a little bit ahead of schedule. I wouldn't be surprised to see him at some point in May. You can kind of do the math on if they did want a 60-day in, like that does put him out for 2 months, and there's been no talk of that yet. So I think they're pretty optimistic that he's going to beat whatever internal timeline they have that they don't want to give us.
Have you seen anything? I know you talked about Kyle Harrison a little earlier on. I was going to ask you, did you see anything in watching him pitch this spring? And I don't even know if he has or not. I'm just assuming he has. Maybe he hasn't, but that he's able to locate a little bit better than he did last year because the stuff's apparent.
Yeah.
It's just keeping it in the strike zone and putting it where you want in the strike zone so you don't have 5 innings and 100 pitches already.
Yeah, I've seen him once. I saw him against the Rangers his first time out in 2 really sharp innings. And he was just around the zone a lot, which if he does that, he's going to dominate. Because it's, like you mentioned, the stuff's great. So for him, it's just being in the zone and being around the zone. And, you don't have to be pinpoint with stuff like that. You just have to be pretty close. And I think he's done that. And I just think, he spent the offseason working out with Logan, and he's doing everything Logan did and following his lead. And if you ask Logan Webb who's going to have a huge year, he tells you Kyle Harrison's going to have a huge year. So I think those two guys are ready to try to, they've been thinking about this for a couple of years, being the guys at the top of the rotation. It's not a great test for him tonight because the Dodgers left everybody at home, but, certainly still some good guys in that lineup that will face.
What about you mentioned J.D. Davis before, just the trade of J.D. Davis. I was saying to Tom earlier, I kind of think that his value is maybe a little bit later. Like there's maybe some value in still keeping him as a backup or a DH because then you would have to be really, really young behind shortstop and third base. I think you can find value later if a contender or a team loses somebody. But J.D. Davis and Joey Bart, what are your feelings on them and the value? And you think I don't think Joey Bart will be here, but your feelings on Davis on opening day roster?
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked if JD's here. I mean, it's a pretty good bench, a pretty good bat to have on your bench, and certainly, Solaire's missed a lot of games in his career. Wilmer's up there in age. Chapman answers the bell all the time, but you just never know. So if you are able to have him on the bench, I think that's a pretty nice piece. It's just if they start to get a little bit non-flexible, and I think they would like to be able to make more moves, and they start to get pretty similar when you look at how many kind of power right-handed bats they have who don't necessarily do 8 other things. So, but they're not just going to give him away at the same time. So I wouldn't be shocked. I feel for him just because he did do everything they asked last year in the first half, and probably is deserving of being a starting third baseman somewhere in this league. And so we'll see what happens. Yeah, Joey is just again, they're not going to give him away either. And I think there wasn't the interest that they wanted in the offseason after they signed Murphy. And it's one of those weird things where, you never root for injury, but if you're the Giants, you're looking around the league trying to see who loses their backup catcher or who loses their starting catcher, who loses their third baseman. So, I think right now they're kind of scouring the league and seeing who needs somebody in the next 3 weeks.
I'm curious. We talked to Brandon Crawford yesterday, and I'm curious to get your point of view, and maybe if Logan Webb said anything. But it feels like the end of an era, even though Pablo's in camp. I mean, I don't expect him to be a part of the team. Who knows? But that was the end of the championship era. Posey retires, then Belt goes to Toronto, and now Brandon goes to St. Louis, and it's like it just seems like it's over. And I'm wondering if maybe Webb was really the only one that kind of had those ties to it. Again, Pablo's in camp, but you were through a lot of it too, and you've seen all that. How weird is it to kind of like see him not in camp with the Giants and realize that was kind of it, the last ties to it?
I texted him the first day, and I texted him a photo of the mound and said, "This is the first time in my career that I haven't, been waiting." He would always hop on there and throw a couple pitches the first day of camp just to be like, "Hey, Boach, hey, Gabe, I can pitch." So he was just always that guy, and it was weird the first few days. Like, you'd watch guys come out to take batting practice, and he was always at the front of the line of that first group. So it's different. It is. I think they haven't fully established like that next group yet, and certainly a lot of these guys came from the outside as well. So it is different. I think it's going to be really weird to see him in Alabama and see him in St. Louis. And I think in June is when they see him. So it is going to be strange. But we watched Bumgarner in Arizona. We watched Bell in Toronto. I think this one's going to be up there with like how weird it looks. But it is definitely like a different feel to camp here. And I think the other thing I felt the first few days is like this is Logan's franchise. So it was. Even last year when it was mostly his and he was the guy on the entrance at third and king, like Crawford was still there. So, but I think this is fully Logan's franchise now, and he's the leader, and that's pretty undisputed.
Alex Pavlovic, the voice you hear on the Yuma guest line. Alex, great to catch up with you, man. Should be a fun one tonight. We'll have it for everybody right here on KNBR as the debut of Matt Chapman starts at 6:05 tonight. We'll get you over there at 5:50. Enjoy the game. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, guys. Take it easy.
Thanks, Alex.
As Alex Pavlovic with myself and Tom Tolbert earlier today on KNBR 104.5 and 680. That's this station right here, the sports leader. If you missed any of that or you want to check out more, you can check it out, knbr.com or the KNBR app on the podcast page. It's where we're streaming, by the way, all day, every day. And KNBR rolls on tonight, by the way. The Dubs are in action over at Chase Center. So as soon as that game ends, you'll get some Dubs OT with our guy John Dickinson. And by the way, if you're ever out at Chase Center and the Warriors are playing, then you know that John Dickinson will be at Harmonic Brewing after the game with all your Dubs takes, and they're pouring some good beer over there. I know. I had some last night. Myself, Marcus, the Waterboy Boucher. Who else was there? Walter and Derek Papa. I try not to shout out that I'll spend time with him outside of the show, but here we are, right? You guys thought you were getting Giants and the Dodgers tonight, right? I thought I was going home like a long time ago, but I'm not. We all have different things happen, right? Life happens. Giants got rained out in Arizona. Kyle Harrison, 2 2/3 innings pitched. He struck out 6, and 5 of those were by way of the swinging strikeout. That's damn good. You love the swinging strikeout because it means guys' eyes get big. They think they're going to make contact, and there's something deceiving about that. So the first 4 were definitely by swinging strike. He definitely, 5 of the 6 were, and he hadn't issued a walk. Then it starts to pour rain. Like they were saying, it's dumping rain. Like it was coming down. So much so that it was going to be about an hour or so, or maybe even more before it was going to clear up. And they're like, what are we doing? It's a Cactus League game. Let's get everybody out of here. We don't want to sit everybody down. We don't have an MLB clubhouse back there for everybody to hang out in and do their thing. We got to ramp guys back up. What are we doing? It's a spring training game. They called it. Personally, I would have preferred they keep playing myself. How about you guys? I was down with them to continue to play, but here we are. So we'll get you some more coverage here of the Giants and more Giants talk on the Sports Leader before we give it to our guy John Dickinson and Greg Silver at the end of the Warriors game for some Dubs OT. I should remind you, by the way, that this is Sports Phone KNBR, which is in fact presented by Industrial Metal Supply online at industrialmetalsupply.com. Metal made easy. 808 KNBR is the number to call and to text. We'll get to a few more of your thoughts on the Giants. And then Brandon Crawford joined myself and Tom earlier this week. It was yesterday. He joined us yesterday from Jupiter, Florida, the spring facility of the St. Louis Cardinals. And we talked about a lot. Went through his tenure as a Giant, his exit as a Giant, where he is right now, and what the future holds for the all-time great Giant shortstop. We got that for you in about 10 minutes. But first, a few more of your thoughts next. Adam Copeland with you, only here on the Sports Leader.
Sound off on the sports leader. Sports phone KNBR keeps rolling. Live from the KNBR Casino Matrix Studio. Casino Matrix progressive jackpots are here. Where are you? Just drop in. Please play responsibly. 1-800-GAMBLER.
Adam Copeland back with you Thursday evening. If you were looking for Giants baseball, me too. I'd be at home chilling if I were. We were getting ready to leave here. When's the last time a spring training, a Cactus League game, not Grapefruit League, I'm talking Cactus League. When's the last time a Cactus League game got rained out? Doesn't happen. Doesn't happen. It's history, guys. We witnessed it. Well, we didn't. We heard it. We heard John Miller and Joe Rizzo witness it. Kyle Harrison, 2 2/3 shutout, 6 Ks, 5 of them by swinging strike, which is fantastic. You love to see that from a guy who Alex Pavlovic told us would maybe be the number 2 guy. Thinks he's going to be penciled in there behind Logan Webb after opening day. Sports phone, KNBR, 808-KNBR is the number to call and to text. The 209 checks in on the Golden State Lumber and Building Material text line, says, living in Maryland now, looking forward to listening to the Giants game. Well, I make a midnight airport run to pick up my dad. Instead, I get rained out due to rain.
Giants-Cubs baseball rained out today at Wrigley Field due to rain.
That's a good party one. It's a great Martyism, dude. I like that one. 707 liked it, too, on the Golden State Lumber and Building Materials text line. 707 also checks in, says Luis Matos, Marco Luciano, Camilo Duvall, Ryan Walker, Tyler Rogers, Logan Webb, Sean Jelly, David Villar, Elliot Ramos, all pre-Farhan guys. How about that? How about that? But development still goes on your ledger. That's pretty damn good. 831 checks in, says, if you're in Scottsdale, you need to go to the Salt Cellar. Just a recommendation. There you go. Says, by the way, you guys are great. You're great, 831. Appreciate the text coming in tonight. And this 510, I was saying, I don't understand why there's still so much frustration around the Giants lineup. We should be happy about it. It looks like a lineup that's sustainable, like to produce some runs. And it's easier to get to the playoffs than the last time the Giants won a World Series, right? I mean, 84 wins, won the NL pennant last year. 86 wins, won it 2 years ago by the Phillies. Giants were 5 games behind those teams each of the last 2 years. I'm not saying they were quality teams or playing quality baseball. I'm saying a couple of pieces changes a lot for a team, right? So 209, though, checks in. I said there's not as many dart throws, not as many players up and down. This 510 actually says the Giants slogan this year, less dart throws. Yeah, fewer dart throws. That's kind of the hope. You think maybe you hit on some, and then you can sort of pick and choose. But the game is getting younger, and I do think the Giants got more athletic. I think their defense is far better. The pitching is what you want to lean into, and it's what every team is always desperate for. So it's kind of like how I feel like every baseball fan just hates their bullpen. Like, you're not a ball fan. Like, no, everybody thinks everybody else's bullpen's great, but your bullpen's frustrating. Because that's what bullpens do, right? They do what they're supposed to. They don't get the credit. That's why holds are barely a stat, and saves are the last guy. He shut it down. So to get it to that guy, teams or fans seem to frequently be frustrated. 408 checks in on the text line, says, with all the injuries over the last several years, how should the Giants be approaching the training staff and be able to keep people healthy? I never understand that question, and I never look to the training staff for guys being unhealthy unless there's something obvious or spoken about that training staff, right? Like, unless there's things that are on principle wrong with the way they're going about business. But I feel like if there was malpractice with pro athletes, with the way they were treated or not thinking things were handled, we've heard about stuff where people remember Noah Lowry had a weird injury. I want to say 2009. Noah Lowry, I mean, he was solid. He was sick. He had that great changeup. I want to say he started his career like 6 or 7-0 too. He was off to a great start in his career. He may have debuted like 05, 06. Anyway, we're 51. Soft tossing lefty. He just paint changeups on the block. I don't know why I'm getting romantic and waxing poetic about Noah Lowry, except that his career ended due to an arm injury that was misdiagnosed. He had an arm surgery that he didn't need, and then he came out and said something about it. But that wasn't about the training staff per se. That's about the surgeons and where you go and you get your elbow evaluated. But I think if guys were having problems with it, and people bring this up about the Niners a lot, about the training staff. Oh, guys are always getting hurt. I'm like, it's football. Are they getting hurt more than other teams, or are we just privy to it because we're right here? Like, it's in our face. So the injuries to Giants players that we've talked about, I don't know. That I don't know. When it's young guys, a lot of times it has to do with fatigue or not being used to that length of the season. But show me a team that's not having, quote, a lot of injuries across a 6-month, 162-game baseball season. More people checking in here on the Golden State Lumber and Building Material text line. 831 checks in, says, something wasn't right when I heard Copes on sports phone. F that rain delay. I'll tell you what, brother, it ain't a rain delay. The game's over. It's done. Cooked. Finished. 0-0, 2 hits Dodgers, no hits Giants, and that was it. They called it. 2 2/3 innings, and the rain hit Scottsdale Stadium, and that was it. But Giants will be back in action tomorrow on their audio cast. And by the way, Matt Chapman didn't get a chance to see a whole lot of him tonight. You can hear him for the first time tomorrow at 9:45 a.m. right here on KNBR. Matt Chapman will join the morning show. Murph and Marcus right here, 9:45 tomorrow, 9:45 right here on KNBR. All right. Should remind everybody, by the way, that this Saturday going down at Oracle Park, the final KNBR Giants Fan Fest, former players, interviews, opportunities to get on the field and throw the ball around. I'll be out there, Marcus the Water Boy. We'll have a lot of fun, do a couple of giveaway things, get a chance to watch a ball game on the big screen, too. We got a spring training game. That is, of course, weather permitting on Saturday. I'd like to be I'd love to be at Fan Fest. Maybe I'll be here. Maybe I'll be sitting. No, it won't, dude. No, it won't. Where? In Arizona? Our guy Raph in the KNBR Weather Center. The best, too, is Raph. Those of you who are frequent KNBR listeners know that Raph in the KNBR Weather Center is our Doppler radar guy. As soon as the rain started happening, I was like, dude, what's the delay look like, Raph? What are we looking at? And he goes, that's not really a system, man. It's not really blowing in. It's just kind of popping up. I was like, this is not good. And then John Miller goes, well, I looked at mine, and he's like, it looks like it'll be at least an hour. I was like, well, hot damn. Grab my headphones. Here we go. Fan Fest. Get your free tickets. Free. 10 to 3 on Saturday. Come on out. Final kind of kickoff to feel like, all right, baseball's here 3 weeks from today, but Fan Fest on Saturday from 10 to 3 at Oracle Park. 831. Appreciate you checking in, man. Really do. Thanks so much. When we come on back, we'll take a quick break. When we come back, though, Brandon Crawford joined Tom and I yesterday. He signed now with the St. Louis Cardinals. I know a lot of people were like, it made people angry and rouse up emotions about all this. It was a really, really fun, good conversation with Brandon. We got some good comments from him, his feelings about the fan base, and I think Brandon's one of those guys who's opened up and changed a little bit and evolved. We saw that with Belt a lot as they got older, but he's really got a different way about him, and it'll be fun to hear. If you have not had a chance, or if you have, it's a good thing to tip your cap one more time. Not one more time, but tonight. You can do it right here on Thursday night. Brandon Crawford, our conversation with him from yesterday, we got that for you next, only here on the Sports Leader.
Sound white, boy. Sound white, boy. sound right, boy. It sound right, boy.
Dub Nation, dial the digits and dive in. 415-808-KNBR. Sports Phone KNBR continues right here and on the all-new KNBR app.
Hell yeah, it continues. Sports Phone KNBR rolls on. Adam Copeland with you. Didn't expect to hear me, did you? I'd expect to be sitting here at 8:41. But here we are. Giants get rained out in Arizona. I texted Derek Papa was texting with me, and our producer of Tolbert and Copes. And I said, "Do you believe that game got blanket rained out?" I said, "When the last time a game got rained out in spring training in the Cactus League?" And he said, March 11th, he said March 2011. And I said, "Shut up. There's no way you knew that." And he knew, like, he answered quick. It was too fast for it to be legit. I said, "You got to be kidding. Come on, man. It's stupid." And he goes, "It's a good guess." I said, "No, it wasn't." "Then you don't have any idea. It's not a good guess." He said, "Month of March was." Okay, all right. Well, nailed one part of it then. You're half there. Just any year in history is what you got to come up with. Well, here's one guy who is not playing in the Cactus League any longer. Brandon Crawford. His whole career played as a San Francisco Giant. Every spring training he'd ever had in the Cactus League in Arizona. Instead, now he's in the Grapefruit League down in Florida. Tom and I caught up with him yesterday on Tolbert and Coast. If you missed any of that, saddle in. It's a great conversation. A lot of fun. I'm going to sign off here when I'm done, or after this interview is done with Brandon Crawford. We'll play this for you. My guy, Greg Silver, is going to pop in here. He'll take you up until the start of Dubs OT, where John Dickinson, our guy, will be on hand out at Chase Center, out at Harmonic Brewing. If you're at Chase Center, you're ever out there, cruise on by Harmonic Brewing after the Dubs game. Say what's up to our guy John Dickinson for Dubs OT. That'll be streaming basically like all night. These guys, that's all they do is they talk Dubs. They have two speeds. They're sleeping and there's Dubs. So Greg Silver and John Dickinson, I imagine they'll be on till 11 or so, 11:30. I'm not sure. Whatever they're doing tonight on Dubs OT. So you got live and local right here on KNBR all evening long. Thanks to everybody who hung out, kept me company, texted in, called in. We got some great Giants talk in. A lot of fun to do that while we're waiting. Well, we thought we were getting a Giants game. Again, rained out today. Due to rain, 0-0. The score in that one after Kyle Harrison, 2 2/3, strikes out 6. But again, if you missed any of the game, there wasn't much to see. Matt Chapman put on the uni, didn't do a whole lot. He's going to be on Murph and Marcus tomorrow morning at 9:45. Everybody enjoy Brandon Crawford, the all-time great San Francisco Giant. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
I signed the contract, so I guess technically.
Damn it! Okay, former Giant Brandon Crawford. How you doing?
I'm doing well.
So this.
Thanks for having me on.
No, thanks for coming on, man. We appreciate it.
We always love talking to you.
Yeah.
How does this hit you during the off season? Because we know that we just heard the cut from you with AJ Przinsky that you wanted to stay here, it didn't work out. How's the off season been in terms of, do I want to play first and foremost? I do. I want to play here. That's not going to happen. Then you end up with the Cardinals. Take me through like the off season and kind of the emotions that you're going through before you actually sign with the Cardinals.
Yeah, I mean at the end of the year, obviously it was a tough year, and at the same time the end of my contract. So not exactly like the year I was kind of hoping for going out, but at the same time pretty undecided there at the end of the year what I was gonna do. And then throughout the off season, the kids kind of convinced me to that they really wanted to watch me play, and I think that was probably my biggest motivating factor. It was just that I think me being unsure, they were kind of unsure, and I kind of snuck up on them maybe at the end of the year, and they really wanted to keep watching me play. So yeah, I mean, obviously I was hopeful that it was going to continue with the Giants, and
yep.
Thought it would be, kind of fun and in a different role, because I didn't expect to come back and be the starting shortstop. I understand how my last couple of years have been, and through injuries and stuff like that, and thought it would be kind of fun in a new role, mentor Luciano and some of the young infielders, and obviously it just didn't work out, and kind of in a similar situation now and with St. Louis, which I'm looking forward to.
Has it hit you yet? Because we just talked about it. Like, you're kind of the last link. I mean, Pablo did come back. He boomeranged back somehow, and we'll see what happens for Pablo this year. But as guys that played last year and moving on, like that's it. Like Buster retires and Brandon goes to Toronto, and that's kind of it. I know you're getting ready, camp and all that, season's coming up, but have you reflected on that at all, like that era of Giants baseball, which is the best era by far of Giants baseball in San Francisco, maybe of their franchise, but does that hit you like that's kind of like outside of Pablo, that's over with now?
I think it started hitting me more over the years. Like you said, Buster retires after 21, so then it's just me and Belt. And then, Belt goes to Toronto, so then it's just me. So yeah, I mean, I've definitely thought about that more over the last few years, and it was obviously a lot of fun. Winning World Series is always fun, and the year in 21, winning 107 games like that, I really, really enjoyed my time with the Giants, and obviously growing up a Giants fan, ended up doing more than I ever dreamed of doing with that organization. So, can't thank them, and my teammates and coaches and all them, and the staff, the fans, enough for the support over the years during my time there.
Talking to Brandon Crawford on the UMA guest line here. How's the Grapefruit League?
haven't played in any games yet, so I haven't had to travel or anything. But from what I've heard, the travel is much better than it used to be.
That's good.
They kind of do regional, more regional matchups now than having to travel across the state and stuff like that. I think we have one next week where we got to go to the Gulf side over there, but I mean, it's nice. Where Jupiter's a nice area, a little more humid than I'm used to, and not able to stay home during spring training, but it's nice.
Yeah, I mean, you're in a unique situation. I think even as a free agent, a lot of times guys in your position who have had this much success and have played for this long are not free agents for the very first time. I mean, it used to happen more like when we were kids and before that, but now in today's game, it just doesn't happen as frequently. Guys hit it when they're 28, 29, and move on. How's the experience been? I mean, it's a totally new thing for you. You're not the young guy, but you're the new guy in a team that's full of vets, and they're looking to you for some support. How has the experience been for you to this point?
It's been great. I mean, honestly, just a great group of guys. I knew a handful of them, either from playing against them or, getting to know them off the field, or worked out with a couple actually this off season. And so that helps the transition a little bit, but good group of guys. They're all, working hard and know that last year was tough for them, and, they're ready to win right now. And it's a good group of players also, along with being good dudes, they're also good players. So, first couple days, it was kind of like being the new kid at school, but, starting to get to know my way around and get to know some of the players a lot better.
You still have the best hair on the team?
Ooh, it's actually not a bad question. Brendan Donovan, pretty good set of hair. Let's see, a couple guys.
I mean, you're usually the undisputed king when you were here, except for when Angel Pagan said take a back seat. I think he was trying to take over the crown.
I know he's playing, though. It's like, that was unfair. Keep the helmet on, bro.
That's going to be tough for you. You might have you haven't had that challenger here in a while.
Yeah, there's some competition. That's all right. I welcome it.
So give me your, when you think back on the Giants era, what are some of the things that jump out at you? We played the home run against Pittsburgh in the wild card game, the home run in Milwaukee, your first game. What are some things that, like, just immediately, if you were to reflect back, maybe even stuff that we wouldn't even think about, but what do you think about when you think about that era?
I mean, it's probably not stuff that you guys don't think about. It's the obvious stuff. It's, the debut, the World Series.
Yep.
The wild card game. I mean, it's definitely those things that stand out the most. I mean, there are maybe a few other, maybe a little bit more personal ones, like 7-hit game or double header I had in Colorado, I think in 2019.
Yep. Yeah.
I mean, September of 21, I guess that's more of a team one, but just that crazy race with the Dodgers. I think we went 21-6 or something like that in September, and still only won the division by one game. Stuff like that. Those stand out in my mind also.
Yeah, and this isn't personal because you didn't do it, but all those things are incredible. They still, I mean, you got to take me through, because to me that pales in comparison to Zito actually getting a hit off Verlander in the World Series. I mean, were you just thinking, did I just see that? There's no way I just saw that, right?
I mean, after the bunt against the Cardinals,
right.
I was ready for anything out of Zito, really.
Dude, how about,
that's been brought up a couple times, honestly, over here already.
Oh, they brought it up there, they have?
Yeah, it was against the Cardinals. So
yeah, right.
It's been brought up.
Yeah, Game 5
right. Maybe by me. I'm not sure.
Nice. Good deal, Craw. Good deal. I was going to say, we're just yelling Dick, Dick, Dick with all your teammates in the dugout in Arizona rank, but we'll move past that one. That's pretty funny. Brandon Crawford with us here on the UMA guest line. A couple other ones that I always think about, which I know I've asked you about two of these before. You were put into the game as a defensive replacement in the perfect game for Matt Cain, weren't you?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, what are you thinking? Wasn't that your rookie year?
Don't mess it up.
Yeah.
It was 2012, so it was my first full season.
First full season, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think I've said it before. That's probably the most nervous I've ever been in a game. Getting that last out in Game 7 of 2014. is up there also. That's probably number 2. But number 1 is, going into that game as a defensive replacement where it's like you are supposed to make any play that's even remotely close to you to save this perfect game, especially after Blanco's catch. Right. You have to make every play that's even remotely possible. So, you definitely can't mess up the easy ones. And I got relatively hard hit ball to my left that I think I blacked out for a second, made the play, and the rest is history. But
what do you remember? What do you remember about the double play against Kansas City? You and Panic that ultimately goes to a replay, and you got to sit there and wait before they call. I forget who hit it. I don't know if it was Hosmer or who hit it was out. But what do you remember?
Hosmer,
Okay, what do you remember about that double play?
Joe made a great diving play, a little bit wide on the flip, is good recovery.
Yep.
But no, Joe obviously made a great play, and just to get it to me as quickly as he did, obviously set up the whole thing. And then Belt made a good pick. I'm pretty sure I threw it in the dirt, kind of flat-footed, like facing kind of like center field. But Belt made a good pick, and our replay guys did a great job of letting Boch know to challenge it.
Talking to Brandon Crawford here on the UMA guest line. You mentioned that you've brought up the Zito bunt since you've been to St. Louis or since you joined the Cardinals. Have you talked to Arenado about how successful? Did he retort with anything about hitting in San Francisco? Because I know that's when Giants fans are like, come on, man, this guy, he must love coming to this place.
He's actually a few guys have mentioned how hard it is to hit there. I think Goldie even got in on saying how hard it is to hit there, and I'm like, guys, I watched you for years put him in the left field bleachers. Like, you might have the 2 most visiting homers, in park history.
Yeah.
Against the Giants. So don't you complain about how hard it is to hit in San Francisco. You guys aren't left-handed. But no, it's definitely been talked about.
Especially. He was like Goldschmidt when he was younger was like almost Lincecum's kryptonite. It was shocking to see someone hit Lincecum so consistently, so hard, and that's when you kind of started taking notice of Goldschmidt. He ends up being he's a great player anyway, but you just didn't expect that, did you, from a guy like Lincecum? Like, who is this guy? And every time he hits him, it seems to be leaving the building.
Yeah, after a while, it was it wasn't more like, who is this guy? I was like, oh no, he's up again against Timmy. There are guys like that sometimes where the batters just see him really well, and obviously there's the reverse side where pitchers can just dominate a hitter too. So
yeah. So I want to ask you this as a shortstop, because I've thought about this with outfielders as well, and my theory is this: that sometimes outfielders, even though they don't think they have a great shot at throwing out a runner, they're going to throw it anyway because they want to just air one out and show off not really show off the arm, but just you don't get a chance that often to just really air it out. How much did you enjoy catching the ball, whether it be a double play, maybe a turn at shortstop, where chances are I'm not going to get this guy out, but I'm just going to go ahead and air this thing out and see how close I can make it?
Throwing guys out like a cutoff and relay kind of situation, like ball in the gap where you throw a guy out at home. That's one of my favorite plays to make, overall. So I definitely will try to make that throw, even if there's like a slim chance of me getting the guy, just in case something happens. Like I said, that's my favorite play, I think, that I can make. So I'm going to try to do it if I can. If I have any shot.
Did you ever get Belt right in the palm on a turn where you just ripped one 98 miles an hour and hit him in the palm?
Probably. I don't think he would admit that. He would say that his hands were so good that it didn't matter or something like that.
A few minutes of Brandon Crawford here on the UMA guest line. So I know a lot of the times the first thing a guy does when he goes to a new team is look at the schedule, see when he plays his old team. You guys play for the first time in Alabama at the old Negro Leagues Park where Willie Mays played. I just think that's got to be pretty cool for you. Again, as a guy who got to be around Willie and the organization and grew up with this history, knowing this, how cool is that? And how long did it take you before you looked at the schedule?
I'll start with the first question. It's very cool. I had kind of forgotten about that game. I know there was some when it was scheduled last year. There was a little bit of publicity about it, but obviously not knowing what was going to happen to me for this season, I didn't really think a whole lot about it. But then I did look at the schedule actually right away when I had kind of agreed to terms with the Cardinals and saw that was the first game we were going to be playing against the Giants, and I thought that was really cool. The history with Willie playing there, and like you said, being able to hang around him and listen to his stories and listen to him talk for so many years. It'd be really cool if he's going to be able to be out there, but obviously with his health and stuff like that, who knows? But it'll be cool to get out there and obviously see all the guys again too.
Talking to Brandon Crawford, nice enough to join us here on KNBR. It's always fun to talk to Brandon. Let me ask you this, 'cause I know you didn't want to get into the whole front office and all that, what happened behind the scenes. I just want to ask you this. Do you think upon your exit you were treated fairly by the Giants?
I mean, just throughout my career with the Giants, I just have a lot of appreciation and respect for the entire organization. So, yeah, I mean, I can't say anything bad about them. Obviously wish there was a chance to come back, but didn't work out. So.
And then before I let you go, Brandon, as a fan, again, you were a fan. We were talking about how fans sometimes take this stuff personally. We've seen a lot of reaction. We've talked a lot about it. And I said, I know it's a business and all that. It doesn't mean it doesn't hurt as a fan. I mean, we love watching you every day. You've been so good to Tom and I. It's been great to get to know you a little bit more. I know you spoke a little bit last year, but is there anything just here in a few seconds or in a minute or so you wanted to say to the fans, the Giants fans who are listening to KNBR right now?
I mean, just I appreciate the love and support throughout my entire career. I mean, there were definitely some ups and downs, and good years and bad years, and through the World Series wins, the 98 losses, tough years personally for me. Just always respect the love that I got, and can't thank them enough for it. And see you guys at the end of the year, last series of the year.
Appreciate the time, man, and we'll always have those 11 triples in 2016, right? Led the league. Lead leader.
That's right.
That's one that I love, dude. You got to hold on to that one. That's such a good one. It's so funny when you think about that. Last Giant to lead the league.
Fun fact.
It's a great note. It's a great baseball note. As a fan, we love that, man. Hey, best of luck to you, man, the rest of the spring and at the start of the season. And we'll see you out in Alabama, and then we'll see you at the end of the year at Oracle Park, man. Good luck this year.
Okay. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Good deal.
Thanks, Brandon. Appreciate it, man.
KNBR, the sports leader. This is Sports Phone KNBR. Dial the digits or send us a text at 415-808-KNBR. We're streaming on YouTube all damn day at KNBR 1045.
Well done. With a little Oasis to kick it off. How about that? What's up, everybody? Greg Silver here with you. Got our guy Raph Corral behind the glass, of course. Big thank you and a shout out to our guy Adam Copeland for holding down the fort, staying overtime after the Giants and the Dodgers spring training game was rained out. Didn't even make it 3 innings. And Copes said, okay, fine. I'll do my job. No, in all seriousness, Adam Copeland, to do 4 hours of a show every single day and be program director on top of that, it's not just a title thing. That guy works himself into the ground, and we are incredibly grateful to all be part of the same staff. But here's the deal, everyone. We are live, which means I will take your calls right now. We're going to lead up to Dubs OT with John Dickinson, but we're going to stick it with baseball right now. Warriors in a tight contest with the Chicago Bulls. They trailed by 10 entering the fourth quarter. It is now a 1-point game. Chicago on top at Chase Center. Both teams on the second night of a back-to-back. Sports Phone KNBR is presented by Industrial Metal Supply. Online at industrialmetalsupply.com. Metal made easy. 415-808-5627 is your number to chime in on the Golden State Lumber and Building Materials text line. It's our number to call in and discuss the Giants. And look, I got to be honest, I'm a little bit bummed out because, yeah, a rain delay is never fun. But this was also the Matt Chapman debut. And look, you could say it's preseason, it's spring training, and it didn't count for anything. And Kyle Harrison might not have pitched much more than he already was pitching. But it's exciting. The Giants had moves made this offseason. And when you look at it in the larger scope, they had an involved offseason. But it's kind of hard to see that in the big picture when it was spread out for so long. And they got Matt Chapman, agreed to a contract, and he's finally out there. He went 0 for 1, struck out in his one at bat. Kyle Harrison did look very nice. That's about the only highlight we could really offer in a 0-0 final. Hey, Giants fans, didn't lose to the Dodgers yet. I had a Golden State Warriors sweatshirt, and I'm not wearing it right now, despite them being in the middle of a game, because it's too close to Dodger blue, that sweatshirt. And that team just disgusts me. I'm so tired of them already. And here's what I want to ask you. If you are listening and you want to call in or chime in on the text line, it's Greg Silver on Sports Phone KNBR. We're leading up to Dubs OT with John Dickinson. About 6 minutes left in the Warriors and the Bulls game. But we got to get some Giants talk in. It's baseball season, kind of. We're getting there. And I just want to know, as a little bit of a broad question, so I think you can go a lot of directions here, what sort of jump do you need to see this year in order to be satisfied? When I say satisfied, I mean satisfied with the future, satisfied with Farhan Zaidi, satisfied with possibly Bob Melvin or these younger players, and feeling more optimistic come September, October. Does that mean a certain number of wins reached equals level of satisfaction for you? Is it making the postseason? Is it winning your division ahead of the heavily favored Los Angeles Dodgers? Does it involve looking more at individual players? Some more than others, right? Like if Kyle Harrison, Elliot Ramos, Marco Luciano, and Patrick Bailey have great seasons as young prospects, but the team wins 78 games. Are you okay with that? Knowing that the future of this club shows some promise and is headed in a good direction? Like, I don't know. And I think it's an open-ended question, but when you're in early March and the season hasn't really begun, I think you're allowed to kind of go there and go down the road of hypotheticals and play through all these different scenarios. Because what stunk about last year was that it felt like there was a real sense of moving backwards in a way that was uncomfortable It wasn't fun. You left feeling dissatisfied even with the dismissal of Gabe Kapler. Like, I'm not arguing with that move, but was that enough? And our callers and texters have had a lot of things to say about Farhan Zaidi over the course of the offseason. The ones who speak negatively will speak a little louder. But even the last year alone, like June was a fun month. They go down to LA, they sweep the Dodgers to the point where I'm staring directly at a meme that we made, putting Gabe Kapler's face on a Jordan Love head with the Father's Day meme. When Jordan Love said Happy Father's Day to all the Bears fans out there, except for Raph. We would never do that to him.
What?
But we put Gabe Kapler's face and crossed it out and wrote Dodgers because, bleep the Dodgers for life. Am I right? And then you get to the 4th of July. That was a real stinker of a game. And you had some nice performances late in the season. Like, I won't act like that wasn't true. You know, you had the almost no-hitter with Alex Cobb when the KNBR suite was active for that game. It was so close, but it didn't happen. We saw Logan Webb pitch a complete game toward the end of the year. But by and large, whatever they had going was not sustainable. The strategy of having all these openers go into the bullpen for the first inning and then having Sean Manaea try to make it to inning 5, and then maybe you throw in Alexander or one of the Rogers, and you just see how far you can string it along. And it also got to the point where you needed your best players to be flawless. Like Camilo Doval was an all-star last year, the Giants' lone all-star. And then he had a bit of a rough spell, and he wasn't amazing at saving games because how can you be flawless when you got to go out there and be a closer? I think the psychology of bullpen pitchers and closers is also hilarious. Like, your job is just to get thrown in the most stressful, high-pressure situations where it's like, hey, we kind of need you to just actually do everything right, and any little margin of error, kind of a failure on your part. But no, Tranquilo Camilo, the all-star, he had a rough patch. And the Giants' defense stunk. I remember when they got to 100 errors on the season, cutting sound as it was coming in through our airwaves on KNBR. I'm thinking, seriously, we're going to do this? They end up with 107, a league leader. So I want to hear from you if you're out there and you're listening and you want to chime in on your thoughts, because tonight didn't really give us a whole lot. It gave us Kyle Harrison, 6 strikeouts, 5 of them swinging against the Dodgers team. Yeah, I know they were missing some guys, okay. Didn't strike out Betts and Ohtani and Freeman. They didn't make the trip. Guess they're a little scared of rain down in Los Angeles. Gross. That's like the only city I can make fun of, being a California guy and then going for the weather jab. Ooh, okay, nice one. Yeah, Ralph's laughing at me. Chicago Bears fan, by the way. I think the Chicago Bears, the way worse weather in Chicago than San Francisco, okay?
Right. We were both in Santa Barbara, so it's like we're kind of spoiled being down there, you know, and coming up here, I mean, geez.
I'm incredibly spoiled. I'm going to go back there in the middle of June, but haven't been there in a bit. It feels like a long way out. June gloom? We're going to get some June gloom in there? Oh, man. So, actually, Santa Barbara is a good talking point because that is the school of the Gauchos, my alma mater. Also the alma mater of one Shane Bieber, a name that's been thrown around. And Kerry Crowley talked about him last night. Is that a pitcher that the Giants can go get? Because I'm not angry with their offseason by and large. It was weird because of baseball and how much it was spread out, and Scott Boras trying to play his fastball and keep these guys out forever. But, they got Jung-Hoo Lee early. They got Matt Chapman late. They got Jorge Soler, a World Series MVP, might I add, and a guy that is a viable 3-hitter or a cleanup guy, depending on how the lineup's going to shake out. Jung-Hoo Lee, a center fielder that I think can do well in a strange park with the Oracle Winds. I really like the interview that Tyler Fitzgerald had this morning with Murph and Marcus. If you haven't gotten the chance to go check that out, you can always download the KNBR app, find it on Spotify or Apple. We podcast all of our interviews, as always. And Tyler Fitzgerald was a really high-quality guest for our guys, and looking forward to seeing what he can do as a young guy on this team. But that goes back to the question. 808 KNBR, 808-5627. What sort of jump do you need to see this year in order to be satisfied? And for me, a lot of it does have to do with the young players, even if you don't make the playoffs. And of course, I want the Giants to make the playoffs. And once we get into July, I'm going to be losing my mind through all these games and cutting sound. But I can sit here in March and say, okay, let's just say that doesn't happen. Arizona just came off the World Series. They're still good. And we all know what the stupid Dodgers are and how they succeeded this offseason. So let's just say it's not a thing for a second. But Kyle Harrison establishes himself as a number 2 pitcher in the rotation behind Logan Webb. Yeah, I can live with that. You got to win Logan Webb games this year, too. By the way, I don't know what the numbers ended up being. I don't have it off the top of my computer screen, but that was frustrating. Like, Logan Webb was pitching great last year. You're not going to get in the Cy Young conversation when your team isn't winning enough games for you out on the mound, even if it's unfair and the score is 2-1. So that's one thing. But Kyle Harrison, if he can grow, huge. Love it. Patrick Bailey, a diamond in the rough. Continue to be that guy at the plate. One of the best defensive catchers we saw in all the National League. You got a Golden Glove winner, 4-time Golden Glove winner in Matt Chapman. And 2-time Platinum Glove, by the way. So you'd like to think that could help reduce some fielding errors, getting a guy at third base. And I'll add this too. If you are playing a Marco Luciano or a Nick Ahmed at shortstop, it's got to help psychologically to have a guy like Chapman next to you. You still got to go out and do your job and field the ground balls and get all the basics. Not be contributing to excessive and, please do not make me say, triple-digit errors again. But having a guy like that beside you, a veteran, now going into his 8th season, spent the first 5 with Bob Melvin and the Oakland A's, 2 with the Toronto Blue Jays, and now here he is in San Francisco with a manager that's been all around California himself. Oakland, San Diego, now back up to the city. Chapman, an all-star in 2019, still a very capable player. One of the classic players that was very good on the Oakland A's and then just wasn't on the Oakland A's anymore because they do things in a rather unorthodox way, non-winning way. Just, I don't even want to talk about. I'm not talking about him. You know what I'm talking about? Not doing it. So I can live with not making the playoffs, or at least I'll say that in March. But you got to have jumps from the young guys in order to feel like they're heading in the right direction. And maybe for you, as a Giants fan, maybe you feel differently, and I can get behind that too. Maybe it's not enough to miss the postseason, but have these young prospects show what they got. Maybe you need results and development now if you're going to stick with this Farhan Zaidi program. Raf, where are you at on this? Our weatherman, by the way, who did a great job covering the rain delay in Scottsdale. Like, is missing the playoffs okay if you get a certain kind of development? Or are you thinking, yeah, I've had enough years of Farhan doing it his way and just running the analytics across the board. At some point, you got to see something.
I would like to see Farhan, at least some of his like gambles work out, because it just seems like last year we didn't see anything that actually panned out to be something where the fans could like be like, that's it. That's what we want. But this year, I would love, like you said, I would love to see Harrison, our number 2 guy, actually do something. And he was great today until it started raining, and then you can throw a strike. But I just would
he and Brock Purdy struggle in the rain.
But boy, I mean, just the way Farhan does his thing, it sometimes works, and last year it doesn't work. So this year I would like to see some of his gambles actually work out. So I don't know. It's going to be tough.
By the way, on the topic of the Golden State Warriors, and we'll get to them in a second, their two most important players are not on the floor in a tie game in the final minute. Steph Curry headed to the locker room about 3 minutes ago, and Draymond Green has just fouled out. So the Warriors are now down 2 with 42 seconds. They took a timeout. We got Dubs OT coming up with John Dickinson, so we'll get into all of that. But you have to hope that for the Steph Curry, whatever's going on, we don't know if it's long-term. We don't know if it's just tonight. But if you can't have the most important player on the franchise out on the floor for the final minute of a game when every game counts, I'm not even going to go there right now. We'll save that for the later half of the 9 o'clock hour. So back to baseball and back to Farhan. And if you want to call in or chime in on the YouTube or twitch.tv/thesportsleader, where we are streaming, now is your chance to do so while we still got some time. What do you need from the Giants? Because they made offseason moves. I think it's not a very rebellious opinion to think that they could benefit from another pitcher. And I think that what you said, Raph, about Kyle Harrison is really important. And it's a lot to put on a 23-year-old kid. He's still 22, like younger than I am, which is, I can't say about too many baseball players. What? But he got thrown into a really unfortunate situation at the end of last summer. Debuted against the Phillies. And at that point, the season was going so south. And everyone was sick of Gabe Kapler. And they didn't have any pitching besides Logan Webb and Alex Cobb. And their defense was terrible. And they couldn't hit the ball either, by the way. Like, I don't know. Not a lot of great things to say. And he got thrown into a situation where it's like, hey, young kid, I know you don't really pitch a lot of innings in Major League Baseball, but why don't you come just play near flawless? And we got a text right now on the Golden State Lumber and Building Materials text line from 408 who says the Giants need to infuse their current players with players of the past. Bonds, Mays, Clark, Aurelia, Vizquel, Kent, Lincecum, Bumgarner, the big four relievers. And that's one thing you can say about the Giants when they had their World Series run. They had a pretty nice pitching rotation. Hey, shout out to like the Ryan Vogel songs, by the way, getting it done in the World Series. Jeremy Affeldt is going to be a guest on KNBR, one of our regulars. So the lefty. And then, of course, you got Tim Lincecum and Matt Cain and Madison Bumgarner and the legendary Bumgarner reliever 2014 experience. But I think that's a good text, 408. Like, and what I'm taking from that is culture, winning culture as well. And it's weird with the Giants. Like, you win 3 World Series in a row, or sorry, 3 World Series in 5 years, and you miss the playoffs in the odd years. But it's not quite what it is for other sports, where basketball, more teams make the playoffs than not. Now you have the play-in tournament, so even more teams have a shot. It's 20 of the 32 teams are taking part in the play-in tournament. And in football, I guess that's a little more similar. Baseball, obviously, used to be not many teams in the playoffs at all. Football, it's a little more common to miss the playoffs. Like we saw the 49ers do that in this run, as missed the playoffs when they had a bunch of injuries in 2020. And it feels like they've made an NFC championship or a Super Bowl every year outside of that. But it was a winning culture, and you could kind of feel it when they would get hot. Didn't matter if they were a wild card. You felt like you wanted them to get into these gritty kind of games where you just wanted it to be close and interesting because you believed that when the time was right, players were going to make it happen. Didn't matter who it was. Didn't matter if it was your star, your Buster Posies, although Buster delivered many times. But you even had guys like your Edgar Renteria back in 2010 hitting homers in the World Series when it just felt like no matter what the situation, they were going to click. And I talked about this last time I was hosting a Sports Phone and going into the Giants, and that was that, I was liking the culture decision on Bob Melvin. I think Gabe Kapler, it was fair to say it was time to move on. He was kind of like everybody's buddy. We had some really funny callers and texters around that time when he got fired. I remember a lot of, he's a robot with tattoos. He's a classic politician. I wish Gabe nothing but the best. And I hope he does find the best burger in his new journey down in Florida. But yeah, Bob Melvin trying to build a little bit more of an old school culture that I think Giants fans were thirsting for when they saw what happened with Bruce Bochy and how he ended that season, winning another World Series. We're going to take a little pause here because the Warriors are wrapping up, barring any kind of overtime circumstances. And then we have our overtime. That is Dubs OT with John Dickinson. I'll be here all night. Ralph Corral will be here all night.
What?
This is Sports Phone, and you're listening to KNBR 104.5 and 680, the sports leader.